Dr. Amanda Martinez rubbed her tired eyes and looked at the clock on her computer screen. It was 3 in the morning, as she had been working at the Arecibo Deep Space Monitoring Station for 12 hours straight. This was her third night shift in a row, and the coffee had stopped working hours ago. The large radio telescope outside hummed quietly as it searched the dark space between stars. Amanda's job was to listen for signals from space, hoping to find signs of alien life. Most nights, she heard nothing but random noise from distant stars and planets. Tonight felt no different. She took another sip of cold coffee and checked the computer displays. Numbers and lines moved across the screens, showing the sounds the telescope picked up from space. Everything looked normal until something made her stop and lean forward. One of the screens showed a pattern that was different from the usual background noise. The signal was weak, but clearly organized. Amanda felt her heart beat faster as she adjusted the controls to get a better reading. This was not random noise from space. This was something made by intelligence. The pattern repeated itself every few minutes. Amanda wrote down the numbers and symbols on a piece of paper, her hands shaking slightly. She had been searching for alien signals for 8 years, and this was the first time she had found something that looked real. She called her supervisor, Dr. Ryan Clark, even though it was the middle of the night. The phone rang several times before a sleepy voice answered. "Ryan, this is Amanda at the station. You need to come here right now. I found something." "Amanda, it's 3 in the morning. Can't this wait until tomorrow?" "No, it can't wait. I found a signal, a real signal. It's not from Earth, and it's not natural noise. Someone sent this to us." There was silence on the phone for a moment. Then Ryan's voice became more awake. "Are you sure? Have you checked all the sources? Could it be from a satellite or a military transmission? I checked everything twice. This is coming from deep space, from outside our solar system. Ryan, this is what we've been looking for. I'll be there in 20 minutes. Don't touch anything, and don't tell anyone else yet." Amanda hung up the phone and turned back to the screens. The signal was still coming through, stronger now as the telescope focused on its source. She used the computer to analyze the pattern more carefully. What she found made her blood turn cold. The signal contained mathematical sequences that any intelligent species would recognize. First came the prime numbers 2, 3, 5, 7, 11. Then came the Fibonacci sequence 1, 1, 2, 3, 5, 8, 13. These were universal concepts that proved the sender understood mathematics just like humans did. But the next part of the message was what scared her. The signal contained coordinates, star positions that pointed directly to Earth's location. In the galaxy, someone out there knew exactly where humanity lived. The final part of the transmission made Amanda's hands shake as she wrote it down. The computer's translation program worked on the symbols for several minutes before displaying the results on her screen. The message ended with words that would change everything. "We are not alone anymore." Dr. Ryan Clark arrived at the station, with his hair still messy from sleep. He found Amanda staring at her computer screen with a look of shock on her face. "Show me what you found," he said, pulling up a chair next to her workstation. Amanda played back the recorded signal and explained what each part meant. Ryan listened carefully, asking questions and checking her work. After an hour of analysis, he sat back in his chair with a worried expression. "This can't be right," he said quietly. "The timestamp on this signal shows it was sent exactly 127 years ago. That means whoever sent it knew exactly how long it would take to reach Earth." "There's more," Amanda said, pointing to another screen. "I tracked the source location. The signal came from a star system in the constellation Draco, exactly 127 light years away from Earth. They sent this message the exact moment it needed to be sent to arrive today." Ryan stood up and walked to the window that looked out at the radio telescope. The morning sun was beginning to rise, painting the sky orange and pink. "Amanda, do you understand what this means? This isn't a first contact message. This isn't someone saying hello from across the galaxy. What do you mean? This is an acknowledgement. Someone has been watching us for a very long time. They know who we are, where we live, and when we became advanced enough to receive their message. The question is, why are they contacting us now?" Amanda felt a chill run down her spine. She had spent her career hoping to find proof that humans were not alone in the universe. Now that she had found it, she realized that being alone might have been safer. Ryan picked up his phone and dialed a number from memory. "General Williams, this is Dr. Ryan Clark at Arecibo. I need to speak with you immediately about a matter of national security. We've received a transmission from space, and you're going to want to see this right away." As Ryan spoke to the military officials, Amanda continued to study the alien message. She noticed something else hidden in the mathematical patterns. The signal contained star charts and navigation data that were far more advanced than anything humans had ever created. Whoever sent this message had technology that was centuries ahead of Earth's science. The peaceful morning at the radio telescope station was about to become the beginning of the most important day in human history. Amanda Martinez, a tired scientist who just wanted to find signs of life in space, had instead found evidence that life had already found humanity. The message was still coming through the telescope, repeating its mathematical proof and its coordinates. And its final, ominous words, Earth was no longer hidden in the darkness of space. Someone out there knew humans existed, knew where they lived, and had been waiting for the right moment to make contact. The age of human isolation was over. What would come next was anyone's guess. Captain Lisa Rodriguez was drinking her morning coffee on the bridge of the deep space reconnaissance vessel New Horizon when the second message arrived. It had been 3 weeks since Dr. Amanda Martinez made her discovery at the Recibo station, and the world had not been the same since. Every major government on Earth was now involved in what they called Project Silent Watch. Military bases around the world had been put on high alert, and space agencies were working together like never before. Lisa's ship was one of 6 vessels that had been sent to patrol the edges of the solar system, watching for any signs of alien visitors. The communication officer, Lieutenant Danny Martinez, turned to face Lisa with excitement in his voice. "Captain, we're getting another transmission from the same source in the Draco constellation. This one is much longer than the first message." Lisa set down her coffee cup and moved to the communication station. "Put it on the main screen, Lieutenant." The bridge filled with the sound of the alien signal. Unlike the first message, which had been mostly mathematical patterns, this transmission was complex and rich with information. The computer systems worked hard to decode the incoming data, and what appeared on their screens made everyone on the bridge go quiet. The aliens had sent them pictures, hundreds of images that showed scenes from human history, starting from thousands of years ago and continuing up to the present day. Lisa watched in amazement as the screen displayed ancient Egyptian pyramids, Roman armies, medieval castles, and the first human settlements in America. "How is this possible?" asked Lieutenant Karen Foster, the ship's science officer. "These images show events from before humans had any space technology. How could anyone have been watching us for so long?" The images kept coming. The first airplane flight by the Wright brothers, the attack on Pearl Harbor, the first human landing on the moon, the building of the International Space Station. Every major moment in human history was there, recorded by unknown observers from across the galaxy. But the most disturbing images came at the end of the transmission. These showed recent events that had never been made public: secret military tests, classified government meetings, and scientific experiments that only a few people on Earth knew about. The Watchers had somehow been able to see everything humans did, even in their most private moments. Lisa picked up the ship's communication device and called Earth headquarters. "This is Captain Rodriguez on the New Horizon. We need Dr. Marcus Webb up here immediately. This new transmission is going to require our best language expert." Dr. Marcus Webb was Earth's leading expert on alien languages, even though until 3 weeks ago, he had never had any real alien languages to study. He arrived on the New Horizon 2 days later, along with a team of other scientists and military advisors. Webb spent the next week working around the clock to decode the full message. The aliens had included what appeared to be a universal translation system with their transmission, which made his job easier, but also more frightening. The fact that they had created a translation system meant they had been studying human languages for a very long time. When Webb finally finished his work, he called a meeting with Captain Rodriguez and the senior staff. His face was pale and tired, and his hands shook as he held his notes. "I've decoded the message," he said quietly. "What I found is going to change everything we thought we knew about Earth's place in the universe." Webb activated the main display screen and showed them the translated text. "The beings who sent this message call themselves the Guardians. They are not from the Draco system originally. They are refugees who fled from another part of the galaxy many centuries ago." "Refugees from what?" asked Lisa. "From something they call the Silence. According to this message, The silence is a force that destroys all intelligent life wherever it finds it. The Guardians have been running from the silence for over 1,000 years, moving from star system to star system, always trying to stay ahead of their enemies. Webb turned to the next page of his notes. The Guardians chose Earth as a sanctuary world over 500 years ago. They've been watching us and protecting us ever since, trying to hide our electromagnetic signals from the silence's detection systems. Captain Rodriguez felt a cold fear growing in her stomach. What do you mean? Hiding our signals? Every radio transmission, every satellite communication, every television broadcast the Earth has ever sent into space has been intercepted and blocked by Guardian technology. They've been making sure that our signals never reach beyond our solar system, keeping us invisible to the silence. Lieutenant Martinez looked confused. But if they've been protecting us all this time, why are they contacting us now? Why break their own secrecy? Webb's expression became even more grim. Because their protection is failing. Human technology has advanced quickly in the past 50 years. Our signals are becoming too strong for them to block completely. Some of our transmissions are starting to leak through their barriers. The room fell silent as everyone understood what this meant. Webb continued reading from his notes. The Guardians estimate that the silence will detect Earth's location within the next 2 years. Once that happens, they will send a fleet to destroy all life on our planet. Lisa stood up and walked to the window that showed the stars outside. What else does the message say? Do the Guardians offer any help? Or are they just warning us before they run away again? They offer us two choices, Webb replied. The first choice is evacuation. They have the technology to move a small number of humans to other star systems, far away from the silence. They could save maybe 10 million people and help them start new colonies on distant worlds. And the second choice, Webb hesitated before answering. The second choice is to stand and fight. The Guardians have weapons technology that is far more advanced than anything humans have ever built. They're willing to share this technology with us, but they warn that using it will make Earth's location impossible to hide. If we fight and lose, the silence will make sure that no trace of human civilization survives. Captain Rodriguez turned back to face her crew. What about the Guardians themselves? Will they fight with us? That's the most disturbing part of the message, Webb said. The Guardians have been running for so long that they've forgotten how to fight. They're offering us their weapons, but they don't believe that anyone can actually defeat the silence. They think our only real option is to run, just like they've been doing for centuries. The bridge of the New Horizon became quiet as everyone thought about what they had learned. Humanity was no longer alone in the universe, but their new neighbors brought terrible news. Earth was about to become a battlefield in a war that had been going on for thousands of years. Lieutenant Foster broke the silence. Captain, what do we do now? Lisa looked out at the stars again, thinking about the billions of people on Earth who had no idea that their world was in danger. We take this information back to Earth and let the leaders decide. But I think I know what the human race is going to choose. What do you mean? Humans don't like to run from fights. We never have. The Guardians may have forgotten how to fight, but we haven't. If something called the silence wants to destroy our world, they're going to find out that humans don't go quietly into the night. The New Horizon turned around and began its journey back to Earth, carrying the most important information in human history. The age of hiding was over. The time for humanity to choose its destiny was about to begin. President Elizabeth Morgan sat at the head of the long conference table. In the White House Situation Room, around her were the leaders of every major nation on Earth. Connected by secure video links, the room was filled with tension as everyone waited for the final reports from the science teams. It had been 2 weeks since Captain Lisa Rodriguez brought back the Guardian's message, and the world's best scientists had been working day and night to confirm the terrible news. Now they had their answer, and it was worse than anyone had hoped. General Kevin Brooks, the newly appointed head of the Global Defense Council, stood up to address the assembled leaders. His face was grim as he activated the main display screen. Ladies and gentlemen, our worst fears have been confirmed. Deep space telescopes around the world have detected massive objects moving through interstellar space. They are following a direct path toward our solar system. The screen showed images from the Hubble Space Telescope and other observatories. Dark shapes moved against the background of stars, each one larger than any spacecraft humans had ever imagined. There were dozens of them, moving in perfect formation through the empty space between star systems. "How long do we have?" asked the Prime Minister of Canada, her voice barely above a whisper. 18 months, Brooks replied, "the Silence Fleet will reach the edge of our solar system in 18 months based on their current speed. They will arrive at Earth approximately 6 weeks after that." President Morgan looked around the room at the faces of world leaders who had spent their careers dealing with human problems. Now they faced something that threatened the entire human species. "What are our options?" she asked Dr. Marcus Webb, who had been promoted to head of the new Alien Communication Division, stepped forward. "The Guardians have sent us detailed information about both choices they offered. The evacuation option includes complete technical specifications for faster-than-light travel and colony establishment technology." "How many people could we save?" asked the president of Brazil. 10 million, maximum. The Guardian ships can only carry so many people, and we would need to establish colonies on 12 different star systems to ensure human survival. The technology exists to do this, but it would mean leaving over 7 billion people behind. The room fell silent. Every leader understood the impossible mathematics of that choice. No government could choose which of their citizens would live and which would die. Admiral Kevin Brooks activated another display. "The second option is to fight. The Guardians have provided us with blueprints for defensive and offensive weapons that are centuries ahead of our current technology." The screen showed technical diagrams that looked like science fiction. Quantum field generators that could create protective barriers around entire cities. Particle beam weapons that could destroy objects in space from thousands of miles away. Shield systems that could protect whole continents from enemy attack. "What would it take to build these weapons?" asked the Prime Minister of India. Dr. Rachel Morgan, the lead scientist on the weapons analysis team, answered, "It would require unprecedented global cooperation. Every major industrial nation would need to contribute resources, manufacturing capacity, and scientific expertise. We would need to build hundreds of these devices in less than 18 months. And if we succeed," asked President Morgan, "then we have a chance to defend Earth. The Guardian technology is powerful, but they warn us that the Silence has been destroying civilizations for thousands of years. They know how to fight, and they have weapons we can't even imagine." General Brooks brought up another display showing Earth's current military capabilities. "Our conventional weapons are useless against the Silence fleet. Nuclear weapons might damage their ships, but probably not enough to stop them. If we're going to fight, we have to use Guardian technology." The president of Russia leaned forward in his chair. "What do the Guardians recommend?" Dr. Webb looked uncomfortable. "They recommend evacuation. They've been running from the Silence for centuries, and they don't believe anyone can defeat them in direct combat. They think fighting is suicide, but they're willing to give us the weapons anyway," asked the Prime Minister of Britain. "Yes, they say it's our choice to make. They'll provide the technology for either option, but they want us to understand the risks." President Morgan stood up and walked to the window that looked out over Washington, D.C. Millions of people were going about their daily lives, completely unaware that their world was about to change forever. "There's a third option that nobody has mentioned," she said quietly. Everyone in the room turned to look at her. "What do you mean, Madam President?" "The Guardians have been running from the Silence for 1,000 years. They've never stopped to fight because they're afraid of losing, but they've also never had human allies before." General Brooks understood what she was thinking. "You want to go on the offensive. The Silence expects us to either run or hide behind defensive barriers. They've probably fought hundreds of species who did exactly that. But what if we don't do what they expect? What if we take the fight to them?" Dr. Morgan looked up from her technical reports. "The Guardian technology is designed for defense and evacuation. We don't have blueprints for offensive weapons that could threaten the Silence fleet. Then we'll have to create them ourselves," President Morgan replied. "Humans have always been good at turning peaceful technology into weapons when we need to defend ourselves." The Prime Minister of Japan spoke up. "This is an enormous risk. If we choose to fight and lose, everyone on Earth dies. At least the evacuation option guarantees that some humans will survive." 10 million people out of 8 billion, President Morgan said. "That's not survival. That's extinction with extra steps. If we're going to lose anyway, I'd rather lose fighting than lose running." Admiral Brooks activated a new display showing Earth's industrial capacity. "If we mobilize every factory, every research facility, and every resource on the planet, we might be able to build enough Guardian technology to defend Earth. but it would require every nation to work together like never before. What about the Guardians themselves? Asked the president of Germany. Will they help us fight? Dr. Webb shook his head. They've made it clear that they won't participate in any military action. They'll provide technology and technical support, but they won't fight. They're too afraid of the silence to risk direct confrontation. President Morgan turned back to face the assembled world leaders. Then we fight without them. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm calling for a vote. Do we evacuate 10 million people and abandon Earth, or do we stay and defend our homeworld? The vote was closer than anyone expected, but the result was clear. 37 nations voted to fight, 21 voted to evacuate, and 8 abstained. Humanity had chosen to make its stand on Earth. The decision is made, President Morgan announced. General Brooks, you now have command of every military resource on Earth. Dr. Morgan, your team will lead the crash program to build Guardian defensive technology. Dr. Webb, maintain communication with the Guardians and try to learn everything you can about silence tactics and capabilities. As the world leaders sign off from their video connections, President Morgan remained in the Situation Room with her closest advisors. The weight of the decision pressed down on her shoulders like a physical force. Madam President, General Brooks said quietly, you realize that we just committed the human race to a war. We have no idea how to fight against an enemy we don't understand. Yes, she replied, but we also just proved that humans would rather die fighting for their home than live running from it. That's something the silence has probably never encountered before. Outside the White House, the sun was setting over a world that had no idea it had just been committed to the greatest battle in human history. In 18 months, Earth would either be free or destroyed. There would be no middle ground. General Carroll Williams stood in the middle of what used to be the Nevada desert and watched as thousands of workers built humanity's first line of defense. The construction site stretched for miles in every direction, with massive machines digging deep into the earth and installing equipment that most people could never have imagined. It had been 8 months since the world decided to fight, and the progress was beyond anything anyone had thought possible. Every major nation had contributed resources, workers, and scientific expertise to the project that everyone simply called the Defense Status Report. Williams said into her radio as she walked between the construction zones, Sector 7 is ahead of schedule, came the reply from Colonel Danny Martinez, who was overseeing the installation of the quantum field generators. We'll have the primary defensive grid online in 2 weeks, maybe less. Williams looked up at the sky, where she could see the orbital construction platforms that were building Earth's space-based defenses. The International Space Station had been expanded into a massive shipyard that never stopped working. New spacecraft rolled off the assembly lines every day, each one equipped with weapons that could destroy objects the size of mountains. The Guardian technology had proved to be even more powerful than the aliens had promised, but human engineers had found ways to make it better. Dr. Ryan Clark's team had discovered that the quantum field generators could be linked together in networks that covered entire continents. More importantly, they had learned how to reverse the field polarity, turning defensive barriers into offensive weapons. General Williams, this is Captain Jennifer Brooks. Reporting from Deep Space Patrol, came a voice over the communication system. We've engaged and destroyed another silent scout ship. That makes 15 confirmed kills this month. Williams smiled grimly. The Guardians had been amazed when human pilots started hunting silent scout ships in the empty spaces between planets. They had expected humans to hide behind defensive barriers and wait for the attack. Instead, Earth's new faster-than-light capable ships were patrolling the entire solar system, attacking any enemy vessel that came within range. The key to human success was something the Guardians had never considered: combining alien technology with human military tactics. While Guardian science was centuries ahead of human knowledge, human warfare was something entirely new to them. The peaceful aliens had spent so long running from the silence that they had forgotten how to think like soldiers. Captain Alex Turner commanded the test facility in Colorado, where the most experimental weapons were being developed. His team had taken Guardian particle beam technology and turned it into something that could punch holes through asteroids from millions of miles away. They called it the Thor system, and they had built 24 of them in orbit around Earth. General, we've got the new gravity weapon ready for testing, Turner reported over the communication link. We took the Guardian space-time manipulation technology and figured out how to create artificial black holes small ones, but powerful enough to tear apart anything smaller than a moon. The most impressive achievement was the transformation of the moon itself into a weapons platform. Human engineers had hollowed out massive chambers beneath the lunar surface and filled them with Guardian technology. The moon now had enough firepower to destroy a fleet of ships, and it was completely hidden from enemy detection. But the project that impressed Williams the most was happening on Mars. The entire planet was being turned into a trap for the Silence Fleet. Quantum field generators buried beneath the Martian surface could create gravity wells strong enough to capture enemy ships and hold them in place. While Earth's mobile defense fleets attacked them, Dr. Rachel Morgan was in charge of coordinating all the defensive systems, and she had created something that no single species had ever built before. Earth's defenses were not just powerful weapons. They were a coordinated network that could respond to threats faster than any enemy could adapt. The beauty of the human approach, she explained to a group of visiting Guardian representatives, is that we don't think like you do. You've been running from the silence for so long that you only know how to hide and escape. Humans have been fighting each other for thousands of years. We know how to turn anything into a weapon. The Guardians had been shocked by human innovation. Captain Lisa Rodriguez, now in command of the orbital defense platforms, showed them how human engineers had modified Guardian shield technology to create weapons that could slice through enemy armor like paper. They had taken peaceful exploration tools and turned them into instruments of war. Colonel Karen Foster led the team that was developing the most ambitious weapon of all. Deep beneath the Pacific Ocean, human and Guardian engineers were building something they called the Planet Killer. It was designed to channel the energy from every quantum field generator on Earth into a single pulse that could destroy the entire Silence Fleet in one massive attack. The Guardians think we're crazy, Foster told General Williams during one of their planning meetings. They say the Planet Killer will either destroy the enemy fleet or tear apart Earth's crust. There's no middle ground. What do you think? Williams asked. I think that's exactly the kind of weapon humans would build. We've never been afraid of taking risks when everything is on the line. The most important change was happening in space around Earth. The solar system that had once been empty except for a few human satellites was now filled with defensive platforms, patrol ships, and weapons that could destroy objects millions of miles away. Earth had become the most heavily defended planet in the galaxy. Commander Jake Sullivan was leading the mobile strike force. That would be humanity's first line of offense. His ships were faster and more maneuverable than anything the Guardians had ever built, combining alien technology with human spacecraft design. They could travel faster than light, strike without warning, and disappear before the enemy could respond. We've been studying silence tactics from the Guardian records, Sullivan reported to Williams. They're used to fighting species that stay in one place and try to defend themselves. They've never faced an enemy that comes after them in open space. The transformation of human military capability was beyond anything anyone had imagined possible. In less than a year, humanity had gone from having no space-based weapons to controlling the most advanced defensive network in the galaxy. But Williams knew that the real test was still to come. General, we're getting reports from the deep space monitoring stations, came an urgent voice over the communication system. The Silence Fleet has crossed the boundary of our solar system. They'll reach Mars in 6 weeks. Williams looked around at the massive construction project that surrounded her. Thousands of workers were still installing equipment, and dozens of weapons systems were not yet complete. But they had done something that no other species in Guardian history had accomplished. They had turned their entire world into a weapon. All stations. This is General Williams. The enemy has arrived. All construction crews have for weeks to complete their projects. Then we evacuate all non-essential personnel to the underground shelters. All military units report to battle stations. The fight for Earth begins now. As Williams walked back to her command center, she thought about the Guardians who had spent centuries running from the silence. They had given humanity the tools to fight, but they had also given them something more important. They had given them a reason to prove that some things were worth defending. The silence was about to discover that humans were nothing like the other species they had destroyed. Earth would not hide, would not run, and would not surrender. The galaxy was about to witness the first time in 1,000 years that someone had chosen to fight back in 6 weeks. The most advanced civilization in the galaxy would learn what it meant to attack humanity's homeworld. The outcome would either end human civilization forever or change the balance of power In the entire galaxy, there would be no second chances. Admiral Lisa Rodriguez stood on the bridge of Earth's flagship, the United Earth Defense Ship Defender, that watched as the Silence Fleet entered the inner solar system. 300 massive vessels moved in perfect formation, each one the size of a city and armed with weapons that had destroyed countless civilizations across the galaxy. All stations report ready for battle, announced Lieutenant Danny Martinez from the communication station. Around Earth, thousands of defense platforms powered up their weapons, while mobile strike forces took their positions throughout the solar system. The first phase of the battle began. At the edge of the solar system, where automated defense platforms had been waiting for months, as soon as the silent ships came within range. Space filled with beams of energy that could vaporize asteroids. The alien vessels responded with their own weapons. Massive bolts of energy that could destroy planets. Enemy ships are taking damage, but continuing their advance, reported Captain Jennifer Brooks from her position on the Lunar Defense Complex. Our outer defensive ring is holding, but they're breaking through in several sectors. General Carol Williams coordinated the battle from her command center deep beneath the Colorado Mountains. Display screens show the positions of every human and alien ship in the solar system, with red dots marking enemy vessels and blue dots showing Earth's defenders. Phase 2. Activate Mars protocols, Williams ordered Dot as the Silence Fleet approached. The red planet, they encountered humanity's first major surprise. Mars looked empty and defenseless, but beneath its surface lay the most sophisticated trap ever built. Quantum field generators that had been hidden for months suddenly activated, creating massive gravity wells that grabbed dozens of enemy ships and held them in place. Direct hit on Mars trap, reported Commander Jake Sullivan from his mobile strike force. 6 to 7 enemy vessels caught in the gravity field, moving in for attack runs now. Human strike ships appeared from behind Mars and asteroids, attacking the trapped silence vessels with weapons that combine Guardian technology with human military tactics. The enemy ships were powerful, but they had never faced coordinated attacks from multiple directions while being held in place by artificial gravity. Mars phase successful, Sullivan reported. 43 enemy ships destroyed, 24 damaged but escaping. Remaining fleet is continuing toward Earth. The Silence Fleet had been reduced by about 1/3, but the surviving ships were the largest and most powerful. They moved past Mars with their weapons charging, ready to destroy the planet that had dared to fight back against them. Captain Alex Turner watched from the Lunar Command Center. As the enemy fleet approached Earth's orbital defenses, the Moon had been transformed into the most powerful weapons platform ever built, but it was hidden beneath an appearance of normal lunar surface. All lunar systems ready, Turner reported. Their orbital platforms are locked on target. Gravity weapons are charged and ready. The second major surprise for the Silence came when Earth's moon suddenly revealed itself to be a massive weapon. Energy beams erupted from what had appeared to be empty lunar craters, striking the enemy fleet with power that had never been seen in space combat. At the same time, the Thor orbital platforms created artificial black holes that tore through enemy ships like paper. Enemy fleet is taking heavy damage, reported Captain Brooks, but they're adapting faster than we expected. They're focusing their fire on our orbital platforms. The battle for Earth's orbital space lasted for 6 hours. Silent ships larger than skyscrapers traded fire with human defensive platforms, while mobile strike forces attacked from every direction. The space around Earth filled with explosions and debris, as both sides pushed their weapons to maximum power. We're losing too many platforms, Turner reported. Enemy fire is overloading our shields. They're breaking through the orbital defensive ring. General Williams made the decision that would determine the fate of humanity. All units, fall back. The final defensive positions. Activate the planetary shield network. Prepare the planet killer for firing sequence. The most advanced defensive system ever built came online as every quantum field generator on Earth linked together into a single network. A barrier of pure energy surrounded the entire planet, protecting it from the silence weapons that could destroy continents. But the shield was not just for defense. Human engineers had built it to be reversible, turning Earth's protective barrier into the most powerful weapon in the galaxy. The planet killer system would channel the energy from every defensive generator into a single pulse that would travel outward at faster than light speed. Planet killer charging sequence initiated, reported Dr. Rachel Morgan from her control station beneath the Pacific Ocean. All planetary generators are linked and ready. Firing sequence will begin in 60 seconds. Admiral Rodriguez watched as the Silence fleet moved closer to Earth, their weapons preparing to fire on the planetary shield. The alien ships had detected the energy buildup from the planet killer system and were trying to destroy Earth before the weapon could fire. Enemy ships are concentrating fire on the shield generators, reported Martinez. Shield strength is holding at 80%, but dropping fast. Williams looked at the tactical display that showed the positions of all remaining enemy ships. If the planet killer worked, it would destroy the entire Silence fleet in a single pulse. If it failed, the feedback would tear apart Earth's crust and kill everyone on the planet. This is exactly the kind of choice humans always make, she said. Quietly, all or nothing. Planet killer ready to fire, Morgan announced. All planetary generators are at maximum power. Firing sequence initiated. The moment that would determine the future of humanity had arrived. Dr. Amanda Martinez, who had first detected the Guardian message 18 months ago, pressed the activation key from her control station. Every quantum field generator on Earth fired simultaneously, creating a pulse of pure energy that traveled outward from the planet like a wave of destruction. The energy pulse struck the Silence fleet with the combined power of every defensive system on Earth. Ships that had survived the destruction of hundreds of civilizations simply vanished, torn apart by forces that exceeded anything they had ever encountered. The wave of energy continued outward, washing over the debris of the enemy fleet and carrying the destruction beyond the solar system. When the light faded, space around Earth was filled with the wreckage of 300 Silence warships. Not a single enemy vessel had survived the planet killer pulse. The fleet that had destroyed countless worlds across the galaxy had been completely eliminated. All enemy contacts destroyed, reported Captain Brooks, her voice filled with amazement. Scanning for survivors. No intact enemy vessels detected. The rage of the Defender erupted in cheers as the crew realized they had won. Admiral Rodriguez felt tears running down her face as she looked at the Earth that was still whole, still protected, still home to 8 billion human beings. Signal from Guardian ships, announced Martinez. They're requesting permission to approach Earth. The Guardian vessels that had been hiding beyond the solar system during the battle now approached Earth with a message that would change everything. The peaceful aliens who had spent centuries running from the Silence could hardly believe what they had witnessed. People of Earth, came the translated Guardian message. We have been alone for so long that we forgot what it meant to fight. You have reminded the galaxy that some things are worth defending. The Silence has been destroying civilizations for thousands of years, but you have shown that they can be stopped. General Williams responded with a message that was broadcast on all frequencies throughout the galaxy. This is Earth to all free peoples of the galaxy. The Silence has been defeated. We are not alone anymore, and we never will be again. Any world that wants to stand against tyranny and oppression will find friends among humanity. In the months that followed, Earth became the headquarters of something that had never existed before. The Galactic Liberation Front, using captured Silence technology and human innovation. Fleets of liberation ships spread throughout nearby star systems, freeing enslaved worlds and establishing the first truly democratic interstellar alliance. The Guardians finally had a home again, serving as partners and advisors to the species that had taught them to stop running and start fighting back together. Humans and Guardians began a long work of healing a galaxy that had been wounded by centuries of oppression. The message that had started everything was now displayed in the Memorial Hall of the Global Defense Headquarters. We are not alone anymore, it read, in the script of the peaceful aliens who had been watching Earth for so long. Below it, in letters just as large, humanity had added their own message in dozens of languages, and we never will be again. Dr. Amanda Martinez, who had spent her career looking for signs of life in the vast darkness of space, now worked at the center of an alliance that spanned hundreds of star systems. She often thought about that night 18 months ago when she had first heard the Guardian transmission. Humanity had wanted to find proof that they were not alone in the universe. Instead, they had discovered that the universe had been waiting for someone with the courage to fight for what was right. The galaxy would never be the same, and humanity intended to make sure it was a change for the better. The age of the Silence was over. The age of freedom had begun.